Stream for the first time in a borrowed pickup truck, we marveled at the fact that the whole family and all their possessions could fit into one load. We had taken up a whole Trek Removals articulated lorry and trailer when we arrived. A year after they arrived in Silverstream, there was great excitement when a bed was delivered by the weekly RMS, the Road Motor Services lorry. Pete told my father proudly that now, for the first time, everyone in the family would be able to sleep in a bed of their own. The Oberholzers had an old blue VW Combi, which had the engine at the back instead of the front. They'd been in that old blue Combi the day Pete was murdered. They were on their way back from a trip to Umtali, Pete and his wife and their youngest daughter, when it happened. The reason for their trip wasn't in the newspapers, not the old ones or the new ones, but I know it for a fact. We also went to Umtali that day, and we met them on the way. "Good morning, Mynheer Godwin," said Pete respectfully to my father. "Morning, OB," said my father. Only children called him Pete. Was Afrikaans for uncle. "How was your holiday?" asked my father. They had just returned from their first family holiday ever, and they were still terribly excited. "Ach, it was really lekker," said Pete, and he began to describe the holiday in great detail, right down to the meals they had eaten and where they'd filled up with petrol. My father cut him short after day 2, or we would never have got to Umtali at all. "Shopping?" inquired my father, conversationally, to show he wasn't really being rude. "Ach, not really, Mynheer. We're going to collect our holiday photos from Windsor Studios in town. Then we're going to show them to our kids at school. They've never seen photographs of themselves before." Mrs. Oberholzer proudly held up their cheap plastic Instamatic camera. "It's amazing," she said in wonder. "You don't have to focus it or anything. You just point it and press this little red button here. Even I can use it." She laughed in a self-deprecating way, and suddenly she lifted the little camera and took a picture of my father and Pete leaning against our car. Much later, she sent us that photo of Pete and my father looking startled. Her note said it was the last picture of Pete alive. In spite of the camera manufacturer's boast, the picture is slightly out of focus. When I looked carefully, I could just see myself in the bottom left-hand corner of the photo, peeping through the car window. The journey from our house at Silverstream to Umtali, which was the capital of the whole of Manicaland, was about 100 miles long, and it took more than 3 hours because the road was winding and steep in many places. In those days, we still had the old white Austin Westminster, the one that Dad reversed over Bingo the dog and killed him when we were setting off to Melceta Church for a wedding. But he hadn't done that yet, and Bingo was still alive. On the day Pete was murdered, we also met Sir Hugo on our way to Umtali, where the road goes through his farm just below Skyline Junction. He was burning some fields with his farm boys on the roadside. Sir Hugo Seabright, I was told, was something called an old Etonian, though he didn't seem that old even to me. He looked younger than my father and much, much younger than old Mr. Boshoff on Lemon Cop. Jane had trained me to mutter very fast the chant, "You go, Hugo, you got the shoes on," whenever we saw Hugo. For some reason, we found this hilarious. Anyway, Sir Hugo was called Sir in a different way to Mr. Simpson, the headmaster. We kids called Mr. Simpson Sir on its own. When we talked about him to other people, we just called him Mr. Simpson. We didn't call him Sir Simpson, and never Sir Jack. It was quite confusing. I fell asleep worrying about it one night, and I decided to ask my father to explain it to me the next morning. But when I woke up, I'd forgotten all about it. Anyway, back then in 1964, Sir Hugo and his wife still lived on their farm in the hills above the Biriwiri Valley. Sir Hugo's wife was not an old Etonian because she was much younger than him. In fact, she looked almost the same age as some of my sister's friends, and she had long yellow hair and lots of gold jewellery on her ears and fingers, and her nails were long and painted red. She was called Lady Seabright. As far as I know, she didn't have a first name. Sir Hugo leant in at the car window with his signet ring clank.